All right, Bill, thanks very much for your time. It's great to have you here on CNBC-TV18. This is your first visit to India since you became the chairman, so many congratulations for that. And you've been traveling here for quite some time, right?
Yeah, thanks, Ron, and thanks for having me. It's just great to be back in India, and as you said, I'm humbled to be in this role. And yes, I've been here many times over the years.
You know, since you have the bird's eye view now as a position of chairman of KPMG International, and since you've been coming to India for quite some time, you're coming at a time when there are these mixed views on the Indian economy. On one hand, you know, growth has been slipping, and many are fearing that perhaps, you know, this sort of, this languid growth is going to continue in the coming quarters as well. But there's another school of thought which believes that the disruptions, primarily in the form of demonetization and the goods and services taxes, perhaps behind us, and the road ahead looks propitious. So which sort of side, a school of thought, do you ascribe to?
Well, I'm certainly in the latter camp, and you know, that's not to underestimate the impact of rolling out significant reforms, and you know, it does take effort, it does take time. So you do feel some disruption, as you described. But I think, and certainly the clients that I talk to, they are very bullish on India and where it's at and where it's headed. So I'm certainly in the latter camp.
So you actually preempted my question, because you're meeting so many global CEOs and you meet them on a regular basis. How do they see India? Are there certain sectors that you feel perhaps look more hot than the rest?
I think that certainly what they see is opportunity. You think about certainly the scale. You think about education. You think about some of the reforms, ease of doing business, the reforms that are being undertaken. They've had a dramatic effect on people's interest in investing here. And you see FDI at an all-time high. That I think is really a byproduct of the positive business climate and the interest that people have had in these reforms. People want to do business here, and historically it's been challenging. The easier it gets, I think, the more interest that there'll be.
You know, you were there at Davos, and the Indian Prime Minister was there. He became the first Indian Prime Minister to speak at the plenary session, and the whole idea was to really sort of talk up the global investor community. Do you think his message went across clearly?
I thought the Prime Minister did a tremendous job. I mean, it was really, it was a historic occasion, and I felt honored to be in the room listening to him talk about what's going on in this country. The fact that India is open for business, the pride that he has in the people and in the country, and the opportunity that it presents. And it's easy to talk about it, and so I think that, you know, and you expect him to talk about it, but to actually see and witness some of those changes taking place and have our clients talk about the impact that those reforms are having on their investment decisions, that says the execution at least is following the rhetoric.
All right, let's then talk about you know, a few of the specific areas. Then you know, India has been infamous for its Byzantine-like tax administration and tax laws, and that's been a big cause for concern for several years now. Have you seen much change? Because many are wondering, you know, even as we transition to this GST, the goods and services tax, the power that the tax authorities in India wield continue to be immense. So what's your sense? What is your team in India telling you?
Yeah, I think that certainly what we're hearing, and certainly what the team here is telling me, is that you know, having some clarity around the tax system, having an understanding of how it works, what to expect, that creates an element of certainty in the business environment, both locally and internationally. And certainty attracts investment. Uncertainty, like, has people saying, well, I'll wait, and I'll take my time, I'll make investments in a different spot where I have more clarity. So I think the you know, tax reform, for example, provides local business and international business with some clarity that's needed to make those investments.
But do you feel that there is some distance for India to travel as far as creating more clarity is concerned, which you said will take care of the uncertainty part, and then therefore it's going to make global businesses more buoyant? You think that is where some work there's, a lot of work is still required.
Yeah, I think the good news is a lot of work has been done. I think the importance is not to ever get complacent and realize that you're finished. So with the goods and service tax, I think it can be more harmonized and eliminate some of the discrepancies. I think with some of the labor reforms, there's still some ways to go, and certainly around insolvency reform, which was really important for foreign direct investment. Making sure that those rules are executed properly when and if the time comes, that will really help provide that clarity for people to invest in the country.
Earlier you mentioned the ease of doing business, and I think perhaps no government has approached this with the sort of a missionary zeal, so to speak, as the Indian government, or a 30 points jump. But what has really changed on the ground? Since KPMG is now, I'm told, it's finished 25 years now in India. So you've been here for quite some time. Have things really changed on the ground, Bill?
Well, we'll use our business as an example, and as you said, we're really excited to celebrate our 25th year anniversary here. And if I look back, I mean, even the first time I came here 10 years ago, and the conversation was about so much potential, but so challenging to either work in, or the infrastructure is outdated. And you look at it today, and the conversation is all about technology. It's all about talent. It's about the population here and how educated they are, and the opportunity that presents itself. We see it in our own business. It's much easier to do business today, and our clients are telling us, and certainly the international community is showing it by the investment that they're making in the country.
So as you sit here today, and since this is your first visit to India, I'm guessing we'd see more of you in the coming months. You remain optimistic and bullish on the road ahead.
I really do, and I think because the commitment that I've seen is not just rhetoric. It's backed by execution. Some really tough decisions have been made that are in the long-term interest of the country, even though short-term some of them are a little more painful than others. And I think that mindset, that attitude, sets the country up well, both internally, domestically, and internationally.
Because there's also many who believe and who fear that when there are disruptions and when the growth slumps, it takes time for growth to revive. Because if people lose their jobs, then even when they have their jobs, they become a lot more careful when it comes to, the discretionary spending comes down. So you don't believe that, you feel that despite these disruptions, you feel that growth will turn around?
Yeah, I do, because the fundamentals are all there. If you think about the country, it has incredible, talented people. So education is very, very high, very good. The desire to create a $1 trillion digital economy, that is fit for purpose for today's day and age in a perfect way. So I think when you look at the core fundamentals of where the country is placing its bets and making some reforms, I think those are perfectly situated for the fourth industrial revolution.
Let's get you then, to speak about, on one hand, India has been claiming that we are the most open economy in the world in terms of FDI, and perhaps the numbers, as you said, points to that direction. But curiously, in the budget, in the recently concluded budget, the government took a decision to increase import duties on a whole host of items, and mostly concerning the automobile industry, and that has raised certain amount of concerns in the global business community. Do you think that is, it's a bit paradoxical? On one hand, we're trying to open our doors, invite more FDI, and on the other hand, we go and sort of use, or almost suffer from a mercantilist, trade approach. You think somewhere that, has that been a bit of a disappointment?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a disappointment. I certainly realize, and every government has to make decisions like that they feel are appropriate in the circumstances for their situation. If it was broad-based and across the board, then that would be much more concerning. Because I think, look, investments are going to be made where organizations know what the landscape is like. So the implementation of those tariffs or duties, that will at least give people clarity on what are the rules, and it might take something off of the investment that otherwise would have shown up in that particular area. But when you look at the economy as a whole, and you take the country as a whole, I think the inbound potential is still incredibly significant.
So therefore, I mean, we should just see this in isolation, and this perhaps is more like a singular move. But largely, you feel that the government's approach they rely more on openness.
Yeah, exactly. I think I mean, listen to the Prime Minister talk in Davos. He certainly said the country was open for business. I would not take this activity as a contradiction to that. I just recognize that they're obviously making some adjustments in a particular area that they're concerned about.
Bill Thomas, absolute pleasure to speak with you, and I hope to see you more often in India.
I'm sure we will. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.